Next, we're thrilled to welcome Yasemin Urgo, founder and owner of Reboot Eco, a Connecticut-based company that's helping lead the charge towards a zero-waste future. Yasemin started Reboot Eco with a vision of making sustainable living easier and more joyful, offering refill stations, plastic-free products, and education that empowers people to take action in their own homes and community. She's a change maker and a community builder. Please welcome Yasemin.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here with us. I would just love to dive right in. And what inspired you to start Reboot Eco? And if there was a moment that helped you really decide, hey, I need to look at my own habits and decide to build a better system.
Sure. So I can say, and I feel like there's definitely others like me, but 2020 was a year of, deep reflection, more time to kind of, dive into those documentaries that I had been, saving up for. And at some point during that kind of, that quiet time, I discovered some of the stats around plastic waste. And I discovered that only at the time it was 9%, now it's actually dipped to 4% of plastic waste is actually recycled. So it's a shockingly low number of plastic that gets recycled. And it's not because people don't know what they're doing and aren't recycling correctly. No, it's because plastic isn't actually recyclable. You can really only break it down, so many times and turn it into other things so many times. So when I found that out, that kind of was like, for me, that was a really jarring, statistic. And as I dove a little deeper, then I discovered the concept of refill shops. So I started to see, those kind of around the country and in other parts of the world. And I loved that concept of, okay, being able to reduce plastic waste by reusing containers and such. So, because that's what I started to look at my own habits, and I thought I was a master, environmental steward because I was recycling well, because I thought that was the thing. If I'm recycling well, great, I'm winning and I'm doing, everything we need to do. So when I started to take a look at, my recycling bin and just how I was producing plastic waste, so much of it was household cleaning products, food, these kinds of things. So when I discovered refill shops and that general concept, I was like, that's a really great way to cut back on all these dish soap containers and laundry containers and hand soap containers that I putting in the recycling bin because I thought that was like good, and I was throwing things away and I was never thinking about it again because the magical land of away was the solution. And then realizing, thinking more about that whole process is what got me to kind of explore the concept of refill shops more. And it kind of went from there.
Yeah, no, I love that story. I think so many people like yourself are very well-intentioned and they're trying to, wash their recyclables, sort them correctly, and still it feels like it's amounting to nothing, and that can feel very overwhelming and daunting. And I would just love to hear, a lot of people think that it's too hard and expensive, but I would love to hear, what your take on that is and how you go about making sustainability accessible, especially through Reboot Eco.
Sure. So thank you for asking the question. That's fantastic. So when I initially kind of looked into this, environmental products, eco-friendly alternatives, historically, there's part stigma but part reality that they're kind of exclusive, they're kind of expensive, they're potentially ineffective, they're not super inclusive and considerate of all types of populations. So that was a concern of mine because as I started to seek out alternatives to the products I was using, I was like, okay, also there's a lot of greenwashing, which for those that aren't familiar, greenwashing is basically sticking a cute leaf or tree on a thing, saying eco-friendly, and having the comments be in no way, having just be misleading marketing. So greenwashing is a big issue, and while I think I'm moving a little bit away from your question,
No, it's important.
Lots of tangents possible here. Do let me know what your question is so I can kind of go back
for sure.
to,
I would just love to, greenwashing is very important, and I do think that it is a big part of the problem when it comes to creating a more informed populace because there is so misinformation out there. But how do we go about really learning what is what and making sustainability accessible?
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
So that was my experience, was overwhelm, trying to identify products that actually worked, that actually, did the thing. So when I started to actually think about this as something that I wanted to, curate for other people, the priorities that I kind of place on the selection that I offer is it's got to actually be non-toxic, truly. So not containing any parabens, phthalates, sulfates, SLS, none of that crap. The packaging, so either it's package free, like in our refill station where everything's available in bulk and folks can bring their own container from home and refill as little or as much as they want, or it's fully recyclable packaging, compostable, etc. It's got to be effective. Efficacy is a huge priority for us because we're not in the game of just kind of greenwashing and putting a cute sticker in. If it's not really working, I mean, I feel like we've all attempted a switch to natural deodorant and been greatly disappointed. So that's one example, I think, of things. Shampoo bars can be kind of a journey as well. So it's trying to find the thing that actually works, not just for one or two people, but really like for a wide variety of people. So efficacy is really important. And then really putting a priority on locally made products. So not only because it's important and it's good, and we know how important that is for, our local economies and just, the experience and boosting small businesses, but also it's really important then for folks to realize, oh, wait, there's someone in my neighborhood, there's someone in my state that is making a superior product, both in effectiveness, in the quality of ingredients, in the packaging. So this is a possibility. There are, if someone local is doing it, that means there's gotta be, a bunch of other examples. So the knowledge that alternatives exist and a variety of alternatives exist makes people feel better and more confident in pursuing, other options in other realms of their home, bathroom, etc., their own products. So for me, I am not someone who is interested or excels at making my own products. That's not where my strengths lie. That's not where my interests lie. So while I love and support anyone that is kind of, tinkering and making their own things, what we offer is a variety of products to where you just have, we've narrowed down the selection, and that allows people to freely be able to shop and explore, but also just feel more hopeful about the options that exist out there. And the knowledge that in the non-toxic, sustainably packaged realm, there are actually good, in many cases, better alternatives in efficacy and quality and such than what you usually find in the store.
You're like not having to rely on Amazon anymore, honestly.
Right, or like the reviews that are out there, that can you believe them, can you not? It's just, it's not having that. So that's what I really love about our hub, kind of what I consider our hub, is that folks can come in. It's not just that I use everything and my team, uses everything that we use, but we get all of our community's feedback too, right? So like the laundry detergent that we have, I know, which of our laundry detergents the mom who cloth diapers uses, and the woman that owns horses and washes her horse blankets, or the mechanic, or the landscaper, or the farmer, et cetera. So we're getting all that kind of feedback. So there's a real world kind of community input way to kind of find the thing that works best for you. And that's also how we determine what stays and what doesn't, right? So, but all of it being within the nucleus of our, shop, Reboot Eco, and as a brand. But beyond that, it's just an example. It's kind of like a sampling of there's a world of options out there, and you're more than welcome to explore them, but just know that exploring them is worth it. And you can start here, and we offer the easy options, but there are better options out there. So you can avoid Amazon, and now you can avoid Target, and some of these other, not to blow up immediately, but naming names. But these are avoidable. They are avoidable, and if boycotting is a thing that we need to do sometimes, there are alternatives. So when folks get distraught initially, whether they're faced with a statistic around what plastic or other things are doing, toxins are doing in our wastewater stream, when they're faced with that, or the desire to move away from a more mainstream brand, store, et cetera, there are options for you. You are not alone. We got you. It can be an entry, come stay with us forever, or at least just pass through and just kind of get that that boost, in Mario Kart when you go over the thing, we're here.
Very familiar.
Better. The music's going.
No, absolutely. And you're also you're bringing those options to people, so they don't have to necessarily do the work and going out to find this homemade beeswax soap. They can come right to Reboot Eco and have a wide array of options. Right. I love that. I know that starting a sustainability business can be very hard. What kept you going in those earlier years, and what has been the most rewarding in starting your own business?
Great question, thank you. So in the beginning, I was a mobile operation. So I opened my first brick and mortar 8 months after starting the business. Okay. So I was at farmers markets, pop-up shops, in front of friend stores and such. And it was kind of, let's see, am I the only person who wants to do this, or are there other people that are, into this concept? And I expected a lot more pushback. I expected a lot more questions. I expected a lot more why. Yeah. And that was not what I faced at all. What really ended up being the response, it was kind of two main responses. It was either, oh my God, I've been looking for something like this. Oh my God, when I was living there or traveling there or whatever, like this was a thing and I've been looking for, hoping for, or I saw it on Instagram or whatever it might be. Or it was, refills. Why haven't we been doing this forever? Like, why isn't this a thing everywhere? Right. Why isn't this, an option for all of us always? So those were really great, responses. So that definitely helped a lot in the motivation, in just the confirmation of like, oh yeah, this is worth.
You're on the right path.
Yes, this is totally worth doing. People are definitely wanting this. Yeah. This is a thing. I should totally pursue this. So that helped. Now, the difficulties. So in the refill shop kind of sustainable business realm, there's not a ton of precedent, right? So when you're trying to build a business plan or trying to, pitch in certain ways, especially the folks that you're trying to present something to, there's a certain element, okay, well, you're a retail business, so this is, it's hard to fit into, the definitions that exist. But also trying to tell people that your business model is to get people to buy less. Really not received well by the generally old white men that are
very
in, the
anti-capitalist.
Yes, right. They're like, bad business model. Definitely need to change that. And it's like, well, no, that's the whole thing.
Yeah, that's the whole point. Thing. Yeah,
and that can't possibly work. How are you getting people to come back? And it's like, you know what? I got my 80% return customer rate right now. I am doing just fine. Thank you very much. People do come back. And yes, it is okay if they buy that one thing and it's going to last them a decade. It's okay. There's plenty more that they can switch over to. But also, there's lots of people, and it just doesn't fit the mold the way that traditional business doesn't. Capitalism doesn't get it. So that can be difficult, when you're trying to build a small business and you're trying to take advantage of resources. So, quick plug, thanks to organizations like Reset and Breakfast, Lunch, and Dinner, and wonderful organizations like that exist to support small businesses. Right. Thanks to them and their way of thinking differently and supporting the unique and the different and the mission-driven and all of those, that helps a lot. So I guess that is a second part of the answer to your question, is that building that community and finding all those other small businesses that are also pursuing a mission, pursuing values, and making those those values the priorities of their business, and building, a little community and being able to participate in incubator programs or, small business networking programs that allow you to say, okay, I'm not alone. There are other people, which also is what led me to meet so many different small businesses, especially women-owned brands in Connecticut that are making better, bath products, that are exploring these things that I'm now, carrying in my shop. So it's a wonderful, it's a wonderful world we live in. We just need to know that it exists,
That's very just opening the doors to what's possible and being able to as you said, capitalism doesn't really reward slow maxing or a more sustainable way of shopping. And so you've been able to sort of create your own little economic ecosystem through Reboot Eco. I love that so much. I just think that on that point, you've not only created a business, but sort of a conscious movement around conscious consumption. Have you seen members of your Reboot community or just within the small business community that you were talking about, how have they sort of taken ownership over that movement?
So there are a couple of different ways. So there's been some things that have spawned out of what we've done. So we have monthly repair cafes that exist at our shop, which is a really cool concept. Repairing things and just getting support in either building those skills or learning how to do it, or just being able to think differently about the stuff you have. Awesome. Even if, learning the skill, if it's something more complicated, just knowing that you don't have to just chuck it and replace it. Those are great concepts, but that came out of just that ecosystem that we built. We have two main repair experts that are our partners in the monthly repair cafes, and then we occasionally have guest experts that come in. But they too they were drawn into our world, and one of them was seeking, something different to do, and he now has a flourishing kind of repair general.
It's the fix-it guy.
Yes, he's the fix-it guy. So he has a such a successful business. He makes me so happy every time, I talk to him. But he goes to people's homes, and basically, he's the guy that you want to call when you're calling your appliance repair guy. It's like the response you want, but you're just not getting it. And he's the guy that will tell you, hey, if you just clean out this vent, this filter, this won't happen again. He will take the thing apart and Google and look up the thing and find that it's a $5 part. That's all you need to replace when the appliance guy told you need to get a new one. It's that kind of thing. So minor tangent, sorry. But he was drawn to the business. He had been thinking about something like that, and he was environmentally motivated. How do I do that? So just in chatting and in his visits, this kind of came about. So now he's got a flourishing business, but also we have this wonderful repair cafe concept that happens excuse me, once a month. And similarly, our mending repair expert came off of working for Patagonia for many, many years.
Oh,
and
very
he was
cool.
Of looking, yes.
Oh, awesome.
So he was manager of the repair program at Patagonia in New York City. So similarly, he was like, I kind of love this thing, but not in a corporate setting. I want to do it, know, so what's the thing? So it was all just kind of like in that world, it kind of came together and happened. So that's kind of one version. But then in the small business realm and the brands, because of the way I am, the way my brain works, I'm very, flexible, and like things are constantly kind of changing and moving in some way around the shop. So, and because I love that small business world and connecting with folks, I've been privileged to be the first retailer for many small businesses as they're growing.
Cool.
Because I don't need everything to be perfect yet. I'm willing to okay, let's try this. Oh, you didn't quite work out the pricing right. Let's change it up. Yeah. Okay, that's not really, or you need some stuff for your rent.
You're a very forgiving retailer.
Yes. And I find it very important, and I think it's, for me, I get to have your stuff on my shelves. I get to.
It's a win-win.
I think your products are phenomenal, so I totally see the benefits. I don't think I'm being, a saint. There is, kind of a reciprocal relationship there, which reciprocity is such an important concept in just all of this, and we all just.
It's another read.
yes, it's a whole thing. But so, in that world, being able to work with brands really on kind of getting to see their growth and their kind of. Now their brands on my shelves, they're so professional.
That's awesome.
They've got their brand image down. They've got their packaging. They've introduced new products because they did really well in my shop. My customers really reacted well to them, and now they're best sellers in other realms. So it's things like that. That's so satisfying, rewarding. It's so rewarding for everyone, and it's such a wonderful ecosystem. And to be able to use my customers and the community in this way to trial and try things out and let me know what your feedback is and kind of, have everything just kind of grow from there is really wonderful.
I love that. It's just a little ripple effect throughout the community. The monthly repair cafe sounds like the perfect thing, especially when you think of just how technology is always falling apart. You don't want to pay $5,000 to fix your washer, but the fix-it guy can just tell you to take out the vent and you're fine. That's awesome.
Example, I was in the early days, I was okay, we need a vacuum cleaner for the shop. Don't really have much of a budget for that, so we're going to go to Walmart and we're going to get the $80 one because it seems like I kind of recognize the brand. What do I know?
Yeah.
Why? I don't have complicated vacuuming because I just need to vacuum the shop. They always lasted 2 months, not really, whatever. So finally, at one point, I was like, all right, we're going to go for a Dyson.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it. It's worth it for the shop. We need to have a clean shop. This is important. The Dyson at one point got accidentally thrown down the stairs by a volunteer, which, forgiven and all. But I was I think it's broken. It's not working. So luckily, because this is one of those things, there's not a repair guy, and it's just, that's not necessarily. So I brought it to Mr. Fix This. It was just the schmutz. He always refers to it as the schmutz. You just got to get the schmutz out of the crevices, and then it's good. It's the schmutz. So he fixed it, just like that. No parts necessary, nothing. It was just a little thing that's so easy.
Just a little tap.
And yes, literally. And then he explained it to me, and I saw, and I was oh, okay, I can totally do that going forward. I use that example because it's such a simple, just about everyone uses a vacuum cleaner, right? And it's such a relatable concept because those are not cheap.
Very expensive.
And it can just be a thing all of a sudden because you have all that dusty grime that gets into the crevices and it becomes such a thing. So now this is turning into a whole
a vacuum tangent.
Yes.
No, I love that though. Just the really big community aspect. But I would love to hear more about just what gives you hope for the future of sustainability, and how are people waking up to the fact that we do need to make a change?
So I definitely see more and more, especially in the last, I would say 6 months or so, more and more people becoming aware of the issue around toxins as well as waste. In Connecticut, we have a waste problem, right? We've definitely, that waste disposal is going to get more and more expensive quickly. So municipalities are starting to put more attention into that. But toxins, more and more people are becoming aware of toxins, right? It's not, I think, before it was like when you started having kids, you then started to learn some things, and then like that was often the catalyst to make you to result in making better choices. But now people really are starting to learn that, wait, this thing I put on my face every day, what has what in it? Wait, hold on, I'm like putting that on my eye. Wait, it's on my clothes, in my sheets, and my towels, like what? So that is definitely happening more, and the despair and the overwhelm that can come with that is really problematic. So the amount of options that are also now growing to meet this growing demand is really, it causes me, to feel a lot of hope. And the fact that, even the evil algorithm, the Instagram algorithm, it's starting to kind of like, you can start to get ads for stuff that actually like is, before it was like all greenwashing in the ads. Like it was not, but now there's actually like good brands and good options and good alternatives, and more companies of decent size doing a pretty decent job, not just checking a box and like making it sustainable, but actually starting to look at better options, and which I think is so important, because eventually there's going to be better legislation. So it just makes sense for these bigger brands and bigger companies to just do better now. Before you're forced, before you have to. So what I try to put out there is just that the building the community, making people feel less alone, making people feel less hopeless, making people feel empowered. Like, oh wait, I can learn how to do this, or I can, now I know that this option exists, this resource exists. I can, opt for that. I can make my stuff last longer, live longer. I can opt for secondhand, like at this wonderful event, so many secondhand clothing options, which is a whole nother topic. Is, fast fashion clothing is a whole nother thing, but secondhand clothing is awesome. Like it's fantastic. So many more options around that exist, right? I mean, that's trendy right now, which is fantastic, right? But it's not, this isn't just one of those trends that's like, okay, and let's stop being trendy. No. This is like a full shift, and which I love. The more people that, embrace secondhand, the better. So I just feel like there's a shift happening. I'm happy to be a part of it. I'm happy to support it, in that kind of micro setting in our, corner of the state. But it's happening at a greater scale. Despite all the difficulties that are also being presented, I think that these are enduring changes, and I just hope to be able to support both on the consumer end, folks with the knowledge of the alternatives that exist, but also the businesses and brands and folks that are presenting the alternatives, just kind of being able to support them either in shifting kind of, customers their way, or just attention their way, or just being able to kind of be a place where they can grow and improve a little bit. So
no, that's awesome. I love that mindset. I think slow progress is better than no progress. I think you said something so insightful and so hopeful, but at a certain point, legislation does have to catch up, whether or not it's like really slow. But while we do wait for the powers that be to create the legislation that the earth needs, what would you think is what is like one small habit that's something that someone can start today to, really get that going?
Honestly, anything. So legislation, systemic change is what really is going to count, what's really going to make a difference, right? But that doesn't mean that individual action is not useful or necessary, right? Because for legislation and systemic change, you do need a lot of us to be involved in that and engaged in that and push that. And whether that's just in, voting with our dollars, right? And choosing where to shop and what to buy and all of that, that is, it's kind of, that goes on record, right? Like there's statistics and there's data around shopping habits and such. So the more of us that are shopping in that way, that's, trends kind of in the retail industry or just kind of the product industry. Like that's how they watch what we're doing, right? So the more of us that do that, that's really important. But also just like the building that community, the more that we're looking at our stuff differently, shopping differently, right? Fixing our stuff. These are all important things that also make us feel empowered to potentially then work on making a difference, work on supporting some of this legislative change, work on coming together with other people or getting more of our friends on board so that we can then kind of come together and all of us support the change, write the letters, make the calls, talk to our legislators, do that. It's a lot harder to motivate to do that if you're just there in your own world feeling hopeless. But if you're like, no, there are solutions. Like, I know this stuff works. Everyone could be doing this if they knew about it. You're going to feel more motivated and like mad in a good way, like to want to go and have everyone know about this. So honestly, starting anywhere, right? If fashion is your thing, if clothes and presenting yourself that way is your thing, secondhand, right? Just exploring what that means, having more people know about that. When people compliment your outfit, if it's secondhand, let them know. So many people still let them know about your favorite thrift shop, right? They're like, weaving through, getting through a bunch of trash to find the gems. That's not for everyone.
No gatekeeping.
Right? That's not for, right? So knowing that you don't have to do that. There are shops that have a more curated selection, right? So it's sharing that, or, your bath products, your hair smells nice. Great. Well, guess what? It's this fantastic shampoo bar that I absolutely love that I think you would like too, or, whatever that might be. So whether it's switching over a cleaning product like your laundry detergent or your dish soap, something easy, something that you're using a lot, or something like a bath product or your soap or your hair product or your face, whatever it might be, or whether it be, clothing, or whether it's repairing your blender, getting, yourself, or bringing it to a repair cafe. It's really whatever resonates with you, whatever feels like what you think is, that's the most impactful thing. The most impactful thing is whatever is easiest and feels, whatever you feel most strongly about. Yeah. Because any of those things makes a huge difference. All of it makes a big difference. And all of it is just one thing that leads to the next thing. So really start anywhere, whatever, it doesn't have to be hard. Sometimes it requires a little bit extra thought, but once you start to do it, you're like, my life is not harder. I'm not spending more time on anything. Initially, it's just that extra thought for a second. And then and your life is better. You feel better about what you purchase, what you're wearing. There's just so much more good vibes about those products when you're like, oh, I know who made that. Yeah. Literally, one of the brands I'm familiar with is right outside the door here, Make Sure I'm Cleaning product. I know her, her whole thing, getting on social media and following these brands. You hear their stories, you hear their tips. Just really a hot tip right now. Follow, especially when you're using smaller brands or whatever, follow them on social media, because the tips and tricks that you get about these products is crazy. Yeah. Who knew? So absolutely. I start anywhere. It's so important and it makes such a huge difference, and it might not always feel that way, but it does. Anything does. So.
Just one small sustainable step at a time. Yes, I love that. Yes. Oh, well, thank you so much for your time. I feel so inspired and motivated right now, honestly.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for having guys.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. But do you have any questions, or just want to open up the floor to questions? If Jeff.
You mentioned this magical repairman. Is he a
He does. He does. So you can definitely find him on his website or social media. He's Mr. Fix This. But yes, Mr. Fix This.
I thought you were trying not to say his name, and that's what we're calling him.
It's literally his name.
No, that's actually he goes by Mr. Fix This. Yeah, it's Bill is his name. He does have a name. But yeah, Mr. Fix This. You can, if you can follow Reboot Eco at Reboot Eco on Facebook and Instagram and on our website. So you can find him through us as well. We actually have our monthly repair cafe happening today, this afternoon. So it's in our recent posts, you'll find that post. So you can find him through there and give him a follow. And yeah, he loves texting, so he's all about the text. So definitely feel free to reach out to him about anything. He's great. He's the kind of, it's wonderful to have people like this, in your phone, because he's the kind of guy that he'll already start to troubleshoot a little bit with you beforehand and be ask some questions, and then he'll come to you, or we're a drop-off spot. Our shop is a kind of a hub as well for that. So yeah, he's great. Good question.
Yeah. He's what Sarah's wishes they could be.
What's that?
He's what Sarah's wishes they could be.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. So I'm aging myself. I'm so sorry. Any other questions? No. Thank you so much, guys. It was so much fun.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yay. Oh, this is so awesome.